And Steve Scheibe, you're the head man of this team. I know you're frustrated, you're disappointed. How does this set back your program?
Well, it's unfortunate that Scott received such injuries, but we will continue on without him with Pascal Picat and do what we can from here on out.
You've spent a lot of money on this. I mean, how mad does this make everybody at the factory?
Well, it's just an unfortunate event that we can't control. So we'll just put our best effort forward today, and we'll look forward to going into Phoenix with both Scott and Pascal and going from there.
Will there be disciplinary action?
It's just an unfortunate personal event, and they're beyond our control.
So you're saying that that's it, it's over, and from here on we go on?
We'll carry on from here.
Okay, so Pascal Picat will have to carry the Harley-Davidson colors alone today. We'll find out just how well the American brand will do.
All right, thanks, Marty. It's a bizarre story, but it is true. Now, the other man who figured for the race lead in last year's Daytona 200, Miguel Duhamel, is also a great story this year. Last summer, he suffered a terrible fracture of his left leg in a race in New Hampshire. He's been through 4 surgeries in the last 6 months. And despite not being able to put his weight on that leg here at Daytona, he climbed aboard Honda's new 600cc Super Sport racer, the F4, and went out to do battle. 6 riders swapped the lead all day long. At the end, it came down to 4, including Duhamel, number 17, who, coming down to the flag, went all the way down on the apron, came back up in front of Jamie Hacking, and sailed across the line for his 36th career victory in the 600 Super Sport class, delighting the American Honda crew who knew that Miguel Duhamel's magic was back once again. That was then. Today, it's the Daytona 200. Miguel Duhamel is standing by with Rick DeBrule.
It was truly an incredible turnaround in just 10 months, going from not being able to ride at all to winning the 600. But the 600 is one thing. It's a short race. There's a much longer race that Miguel Duhamel has to deal with, and that is the 200. The plan going in this weekend was to do as well as you could in the 600, possibly win it, and just survive the 200. Well, now that you've won the 600, are those plans changing?
No, I want to stay true to my plans, and I'm still not 100%, so 600 was a great blessing for me and for Honda to see BRF4 to debut. It was a great way to do it and start the season, but and Superbike, it's a different ball of wax, and I'm going to just try to be level-headed about it.
How do you feel right now going into this race?
I feel pretty good. Everything's okay considering. I'm feeling better than I thought I would coming in here.
All right, now the only question is how he can contend with 200 miles on a Superbike race.
All right, thank you, Rick. Now, Nick Einosh, Miguel will be alone on the American Honda machinery because his teammate, Eric Bostrom, is another of our stories. He will not be able to ride after a big crash in first-round qualifying. You saw it.
Standing right there in the International Horseshoe, Eric Bostrom, coming off the International Horseshoe, had the thing fully leaned over, started picking up the throttle, the rear end let go, high side of the mouth of the seat. Bike came along and then collected his right ankle.
Bostrom was taken to the Infield Medical Center here at Daytona International Speedway, emerged on crutches, and we understand he has a fracture of his left ankle. He is not here at Daytona. He has gone back to San Francisco where he has been treated, we understand, with a screw put in that ankle. Whether he'll be able to race in round 2 of the AMA Superbike Series in 2 weeks' time at Phoenix, Arizona remains to be seen. Let's go down now to Marty Reed.
Well, as you've already heard, the track here at Daytona has not been kind to Eric Bostrom, but it wasn't also kind to his brother Ben, sitting right next to me here back in a test session in December. I have no idea what it's like to go 170 miles an hour on 2 wheels and have a catastrophic tire failure. They haven't even brought that tire. You proved that it wasn't going to work. You were not injured, but it's still playing a little mind game with you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit tough. We started the weekend, and I was just having trouble getting on the gas, basically, because in the back of your mind, it's just lingering back there going, God, what if something happens? And probably nothing's going to happen, but you think you feel something from the rear end, and you just got to get used to it. The bikes are supposed to move around and slide on the banking, and you just got to get the confidence built back up again and try to go out there and win this 200.
Well, one thing we can tell everybody is you did get it dialed in. I mean, you're third on the grid. You're flying pretty well.
Yeah, things are going well. My team's doing a super job setting up the bike, and the Ducati works really well, so it's kind of hard to go slow on a good bike. And I got a few things to learn right now. Gobert's at fast time, Ladd second, McGill fourth. It's a very stacked front row. All these guys are going to be going real good. I think in the end it's going to be a race with 5 guys trying to win this thing at the finish.
Well, we now know that he's going to be starting third. He mentioned Anthony Gobert. He's the fast guy, and that's where we find Rick DeBrule.
There's no question Anthony Gobert is fast. There's no question the Ducati is fast. It's really the old questions that have to be answered about reliability. Let's stand by and talk with Anthony Gobert right now about that. I guess the question is, You know, last year the big knock was the Ducati couldn't go the distance. Is it any better?
Yeah, it is. They've improved it a lot. And last year we had a head gasket problem, I think, because of the quick change system. It was sort of putting stress on the engine. So they've adjusted everything and I think done a new design on the engine a little bit as well. So hopefully this year it should hold for 200 miles.
Now let's talk about you. You had a pretty tumultuous year last year, a 3-race suspension. Is there a new and improved Anthony Gobert out here?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I'm not really doing anything different to what I normally do, apart from I've been training a little bit harder and a little bit more dedicated because I want to try and beat these guys even sort of more now because of what happened. So we started off good. We got the pole here, so it's a good start to our season. So hopefully we can just continue through and be champion.
All right, no question. Anthony Gobert has the potential. He's just got to live up to it.
No question about that. Anthony Gobert can win. The Ducati can win. But will they over 200 miles of racing? That remains to be seen.
That's the beauty of the Daytona 200. So many things happen in the next 2 hours that if you're a betting person, this is the wrong place to do it.
We have 2 Ducatis, a Suzuki in the hands of Gobert's fellow Australian, Matt Mladen, and we have Miguel Duhamel on the outside of the front row with the bad leg, but with that Honda RC45. That is a very, very quick machine. And second round qualifying produced some surprises as well.
Yes, Larry Pegram. He was hired late fast by Faraci. He took that Ducati and he put it down in the 49s. He would have qualified 4th quickest if the front 4 wasn't locked in on the first day of qualifying, but he was 5th on the grid and he's going good.
Let's turn to our Kawasaki starting grid now. It'll be 2 Australians inside row 1, Anthony Gobert and Matt Mladen. The outside will be Ben Bostrom, the reigning AMA Superbike champion, and Miguel Duhamel. And now through the rest of the field, Larry Pegram, who, as Nick mentioned, was very quick in second round qualifying. Aaron Yates, who has switched over to the Muzzy Kawasaki team. As you see, Scott Russell and Eric Bostrom will not line up in their assigned start positions. In all, 16 factory-supported riders in this field. And behind them, dozens and dozens of very well-prepared machinery in the hands of privateer operations, some of them very, very sophisticated. 77 bikes in all will start in 2 waves in the 58th Daytona 200. 2 hours of racing separated by the only 2 pit stops the AMA Superbikes will make this year. And if you've never seen a speedy motorcycle pit stop, you are in for a surprise as they descend on the machine, fill it up with fuel, change the tires, and get away in 8 to 10 seconds. We'll take a break, and when we return, the start of the Daytona 200. Stay with us.
Superbike championships than any other sport bike in history. Is it any wonder so many worship the ground it rides on?
The dawning of the new millennium. Our culture reaches a new era. It is the culmination of thousands of years of development for the human race. A creation that will forever alter the world of motorsports. A new internet-based network dedicated entirely to the world of motorcycling, 24 hours a day. The all-new Moto World Network. Finally, a way to ride the web rather than surf it. On your favorite browser at www.motoworld.net. Check it out.
Possesses a passion inspired by the world's fastest Falcon. And a history that could only come from Suzuki. Introducing the incredible GSX 1300R Hayabusa, the largest displacement sport bike Suzuki has ever built. It's proof you don't need wings to fly.
Daytona Bike Week is brought to you by Honda Motorcycles and the 1999 Honda Race Team. Honda, ride red. By Kawasaki. Call 1-800-661-RIDE for the dealer nearest you. By Moto World Network. Ride the web 24 hours a day at www.motoworld.net. And by Yamaha, makers of the revolutionary YZF R6 sport bike and the new 1600cc Roadstar Cruiser. Back at Daytona International Speedway in the 58th Daytona 200, I'm Bob Varsha along with Nick Einosh, and there is the bright red Ducati of our pole sitter, Anthony Gobert, as the field makes its final parade lap before they come to rest and are sent on their way around this 3.56-mile combined NASCAR oval and infield road course. Tell us about it, Nick.
Let's take a look at this racetrack as a racer would look at it. Focus first on the exit of the chicane. The big speed comes down here, so getting off the chicane just right, #1 priority. Second big priority, right here in turn 5. You've got to get off of turn 5 here because you're going to carry lots of speed down into the chicane. Get those two right, then you can start thinking about your braking into turn 1. Big, long braking zone here. You're leaned over. If you can be good on the brakes here at Daytona and good off of turn 5 and out of the chicane, you're going to do some damage.
Now, all 77 riders in the field made that parade lap with the exception of one. And there he is with the #1 plate on his Vance & Hines Ducati, Ben Bostrom. Getting an attaboy from the crew there. They could not get that V-twin fired to send Bostrom on the parade lap. So he's had to sit there and wait while the field comes around to join him on the starting grid.
For those racers in the crowd, they know this is a pretty big deal. You use that second warm-up lap in Superbike to get your tires up to speed, get your brake pads up to speed, oil, coolant, also get your brain ready to go. And Bostrom probably not used to starting a V-twin like this, and they botched it a couple times. There he is sitting there, cold tires.
Let's go down to Marty Reed for more on that story.
Well, remember our interview with him right before the start of the race. You could see by looking in his eyes, he does not like it here at Daytona. He is not as comfortable here as he would be at, say, Las Vegas last year where he clinched the Superbike championship. And the last thing he needs is to have to start this race in the front row. And as you said, Nick, he has been sitting there for over 3 minutes now on cold tires, and that means turn 1 is going to be very frightening for him. This could play a mind game on Ben Bostrom.
Thanks, Marty Reed. The other thing to think about, folks, is that engine has been sitting there idling. Temperature's rising, and a radiator works by having air pass through it over the coolant, and the coolant circulates and cools down the engine. There's been no air circulating through Ben Bostrom's Ducati. There are no fans behind the radiators on race bikes. It all depends on airflow.
In the foreground, the blue Suzuki is Matt Mladen. And to the rear of your picture, 17 Honda of Miguel Duhamel. Now we await the pole sitter, Anthony Gobert, who is making his way very slowly down the pit lane, past rank after rank of riders. He's down to the second row, and now he pulls the number 95 Ducati into its position.
Playing a little bit of a mind game, letting everybody sit there and heat up. The engine's heating up, and then he arrives. Now we're going to go to the start.
Riders are ready. The first wave will take off, and after a short delay, the second wave, and we are underway here at the Daytona 200.
First wave is off. Looked like Ben Bostrom maybe even jumped the start. Let's see what happens now. Looks like Miguel Duhamel leads into the turn #1. Anthony Gobert, your pole sitter, in second spot.
The second wave is rolling on pit lane here at Daytona. But the leader is Miguel Duhamel, a two-time former winner of this race, as the second wave filters down through turn 1. There is Duhamel with the yellow helmet. Behind him is Gobert with that neckerchief flapping in the breeze. And in green, number 20, taking over second place is Aaron Yates. Back to third he goes as Gobert comes by.
Gobert getting a little bit loose off that international horseshoe. We saw Roland Sands crash there in the 250 race, heat race. Tough because it's cold tires. You're trying to drive off there and lead this race, and Gobert got a little bit loose. Let Yates by him. Yates again looking up the inside, going into turn 5. Yates in the second spot.
Cleanly through the infield for the first of 57 laps, 200 miles of racing. And up on the banking for the first time in NASCAR's turns 1 and 2 is Miguel Duhamel. What a great story. Originally from Montreal, Canada, now living in Sarasota, Florida. He cannot stand on his left leg, but he came here, won the 600 Super Sport race, and now he is leading away here in the Daytona 200.
Beautiful sounds of twins and four cylinders ripping by us. Matt Mladen now up into second spot, going to run down Duhamel. Duhamel got that great lead out of turn 5. Why? Because Aaron Yates stuck up the inside of Gobert, slowed those two guys down. Meanwhile, Duhamel had clear sailing, and that's where he got that gap. That's how it happens here at Daytona.
Approaching 180 miles an hour, slipping in and out of the air, buffeting around the machine ahead of you.
250 Grand Prix fans are laughing right now. Here comes Oliver up into second for a moment there. Malad outbreaks him into turn 1, but Oliver in a very solid third place on the Yamaha, factory Yamaha, Tom Houseworth tuned machine, and Yamaha has ruled the Daytona 200, and there's something really good about the Yamaha here at Daytona. Oliver's making it work here.
Oliver, number 97 in blue. That's year-old machinery. The new Yamaha. Oh, problems. Oliver almost came off, and someone else has. Bike number 62. That's Corey Call from Sacramento, California.
Corey Call down at the Dan Kyle tuned Suzuki, and Corey Call is the winner in Pro Thunder earlier, and now he's down and out of Superbike.
See the damage to the machine. Call climbed back aboard. Fairing moved. Bike cannot continue. Meanwhile, back up front, number 17, Miguel Duhamel, is leading as he makes the transition from the infield up onto the banking. And as you mentioned earlier, Nick, this is the part of the racetrack that riders are most concerned about. It's the transition from the flat of the infield up onto the banking.
Certainly got to get out of turn 5 well. Not too much spinning the tire, but yet you can't drive out of there so slowly that you don't get up on that banking right up to the wall. That's all the racetrack you're going to be able to use there. Duhamel has proven the Honda's speed. He's set the fastest track speeds here during qualifying and during practice, 184 miles an hour on that RC45 Honda. It's a V4, the only V4 in the series, the only V4 running in World Superbike throughout the week.
Onto the banking they go once again. Think about the exercise. The throttle in your right hand with 160, maybe 170 horsepower. That's your beck and call. That's also where the front brake lever is. To the left is the clutch lever. Under your left foot, your gear changing mechanism, and under your right foot, the rear brake.
We're getting some more players up in there. We saw 82 Steve Rapp on the Yoshimura Suzuki right up in there. Young man we'll talk a lot about during as this race unfolds. And then Larry Pegram, number 72, slipstream past Gobert as we watch Jason Pridmore at number 43. He's caught up to that pack for second spot. Meanwhile, Miguel Duhamel has been caught by Matthew Malad. So Honda versus Suzuki.
This was Miguel Duhamel's plan, as it was for Scott Russell. Get out and go hard at the beginning of the race, set the pace, stay out of trouble, make everyone come to you. Right now, the Australian Matt Maladen is looking to do just that. Steve Rapp has come from 8th on the starting grid to 3rd, followed by Richard Oliver and Aaron Yates, your top 5. We'll take a break and return with more of the Daytona 200 in just a moment.
Sam Satellite City, return desk.
We want to return this satellite dish we bought from you guys.
How come?
We can't get all the same channels we used to get with Comcast. We don't even get local channels anymore.
Really?
And you didn't tell me I need a separate receiver for each television.
I didn't.
With Comcast, additional outlets were easy.
We're not the cable company.
No kidding. That's why we need to return the dish.
Well, you'll just have to take a number and get in line.
If you're thinking about satellite TV, you might want to think twice. Comcast, everything you connect with.
Today's business environment is fast-paced, ever-changing, and very competitive. It's exciting working for Comcast. My daily routine is driving out to Plainfield or Brownsburg or wherever it might be on the west side in Hendricks County and explain to people how I can help them increase their sales by advertising on Comcast cable television. It's my job to be out in the community informing local businesses that with cable TV you can get more bang for your buck. It's real easy to get a hold of me. Just give me a call. Mooresville and Plainfield, call 839-0802.
Stuart and I get the playoff picture back from the darkroom when we come back.
We're clear.
Oh, the prompter's going too fast. I can't keep
Come
up.
on, it's not the teleprompter, it's you, it's not the...
My throat, I can hardly talk.
Give him some tea, give him some tea.
I can't go back out there. I don't want to go back out. Cut me. Cut me, Lou.
Come on, baby, come on, snap out of it. Don't be a lollipop, get out there. Tonight's your night.
Oh, without question, these days, the word on everybody's...
This is ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
There is Miguel Duhamel on red number 17, the Honda RC45, leading the Suzuki of Matt Maladen. Duhamel has led since the green in this race. Maladen may make a bid for the lead soon.
let's watch now. This is about horsepower right here. For the last 3-4 years, people have been talking about the horsepower of the Honda, and it's estimated anywhere between 175 to 190 horsepower. Mladen makes the draft work, though, putting the Suzuki by there, and that speaks volumes of the Suzuki's improvement over the summer, or over the winter of 1999.
There was a huge roar from the crowd as Matt Mladen came through to become the second leader of this race, and now it is Miguel Duhamel who becomes the hunter. Quickly, Mladen opening up a lead. Duhamel crossed the stripe in second, Steve Rapp in third, Richard Oliver fourth, then Larry Pegram, Anthony Gobert, our pole sitter, back in sixth, Aaron Yates is seventh, followed by Jamie Hacking, Steve Crevier, and Ben Bostrom, your top 10.
Rapp with his head down. Steve Rapp, a young kid. He's out of the AFM club scene up in Northern California. And Rapp has got a heck of a club record. In 1995, he won the Open Superbike Championship, and then 96, he won the AFM overall #1 plate at Sears Point. So the guy knows how to race. He knows how to win championships and titles. Right now, he's putting that 82 GSXR 750 up into third spot. He got that ride, Bob, from doing well in Supersport. He rode for San Gabriel Water last year, was in the contention for the championship. He finished on the top 5, except for one race in Vegas when his bike broke. He was second in the points, so he did a heck of a job last year on Supersport machinery. And you do that well, factory's off you ride, and Rapp's got one.
Behind Rapp is Richard Oliver, and then Larry Pegram. Pegram being tutored by a wise old racer here, former world champion in the 500cc class, Kevin Schwans, coaching his fellow Texan.
Good shot of Pegram right there, talking to Kevin Schwantz last night at the short track races about what is he teaching Pegram, and obviously you don't teach these guys too much. They're already so good, but Kevin's working with Larry Pegram on, as Gobert sets up to draft him, working on his confidence, on coming to Daytona and feeling confident, feeling comfortable at this place. Working on a little bit of his riding position and style, also just supporting him, and it's a huge mental part of road racing, is having that support and feeling that people believe you're the fastest guy around.
There is Matt Mladen, continuing his battle with Miguel Duhamel. 77 bikes really fill up this long racetrack. Nothing like the 184 racers turned out in the first Daytona 200 after the World War II years in 1947 when they ran on the 3-mile beach course here in Daytona. Let's get down to the pit lane and Rick DeBrule.
I want to talk about a change that was made to Duhamel's bike this morning after the morning warm-up. They decided to go to a taller gear. It gives them about an extra 2.5 miles an hour in top-end speed. The reason being is just a little windy out here today. They were concerned that when he gets that tailwind going down the backside, it actually hit the rev limiter and would be able to cut it out. You kind of lose it a little bit in the front. They're hoping it'll actually gain a little speed, but they have a little tougher battle against the wind. But on the backside, they're hoping it'll actually gain with them. And as you can see, at the very least, he had the lead for a while, and now he's in second.
Thanks, Rick DeBrule. Interesting how we talk about gear changes for street riders like Bob and I. You would just change sprockets, and that's what they did at the last minute. But each one of these superbike teams, as Duhamel draws a bead, looks like he's going to go by onto the brakes in the chicane. No, Mladen holds off. But each one of these superbike teams have internal ratios as well. So for first through sixth gear, you've got 3 or 4 possible internal ratio choices for the gearbox. And then, of course, you can go to changing sprockets. Very rarely would a superbike team change sprockets at the last minute. But when the wind kicked up, Al Ludington, Joey Lombardo, and Ray Plum, the brain trust of that Honda team, said, hey, it's time to make a change.
The wind is snapping the big American flag on the flagpole at the main entrance to Daytona International Speedway. But it doesn't appear to be blowing quite as hard down at track level as they come through.
Rapp and Oliver having a great battle. I love this. The young kid, Rapp, 26 years old, and Oliver, 37 years old, is what he's admitting to. And, of course, Oliver has gone undefeated at 250 GP, and many people felt that his undefeated season, his dominant seasons in 250 GP, hurt his ability to pass people and to race with people and be in the mix. And we will see if Oliver can learn that racecraft again.
Back to our leaders now. Duhamel leading Mladen. Duhamel picked up a couple of victories last year before his season-ending broken leg in a crash at Loudon, New Hampshire. Mladen, for his part, found victories hard to come by. Arguably the fastest man over 1 lap in the series last year, 7 pole positions to lead all other riders. But simply could not seal the deal and get to victory lane.
Mladen, as we talk about the Australian, he's only 26 years old, and it belies his record. He's been on a 500 Kajiva Grand Prix team. He's won Superbike championship in his home country of Australia. He's ridden for Faraci. He was third overall in Superbike points for Faraci in '97, and he's only 26. He's still got that hunger in his eye. He's signed up with Yoshimura for a 3-year deal. So the guy is here to stay, and he's getting a lot of fans, especially with his hard-charging style. You don't get pole position in AMA Superbike without riding at the world level.
The pack appears to be closing up just a bit on the two race leaders as Steve Rapp and Richard Oliver lead that group. We'll take a break and return to Daytona for more of the Daytona 200 in just a moment.
I've been racing since I was 3. I'm a pilot. I like to fly a little bit.
Those guys are tough to beat. No matter what, we want a Honda up front. I guess you could say I was just a little bit hairier than the other kids. They said I was hairy like a bear, and then I was Yogi Bear, and now it's just Yogi.
Je m'appelle Mickaël Pichon, j'ai 23 ans, j'habite en France. I just feel like I'm on the right team and on the right place.
Try not to think about who's behind you. You know, you try to always race in front of you.
You feel like you can be free.
Black toes sniff out a white plate. The nation hot glued to a half second. Old dusty legends step back. A superstar comes home, and a hat made of American cotton follows behind. We see it.
Sports Center of the Decade, tomorrow at 8:30 on ESPN. Presented by General Motors.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, where we're working slower traffic now, and number 82, Steve Rapp, is having all kinds of problems. He saved the bike from high siding just a lap ago, and now he's been off and on the grass.
Steve Rapp, first year on a factory superbike, first year on a superbike. He's running DOT tire Supersport stuff up till October of '98, so he's got a learning curve going on. He's done a fantastic job so far, and he does not throw the bike down. He doesn't make big mistakes, and he's made a couple of small ones so far, trying a little bit too hard. Now he's got to kind of compose himself and regroup. Daytona, you can think about the Daytona 200 as 3 sprint races. You sprint race the first 20 laps on tires, then you get new tires, go next 20 laps, and then you try to close the thing out the last 17 laps, and Rapp needs to get that going.
Here's another look at what happened to Steve Rapp. Just overcooked the exit to the dogleg on the infield.
Probably turned the thing in there, got that front tire pushing. You can turn these bikes too quickly. He may have overloaded that front tire with just too strong of a steering input, which is easy to do when you get caught up in all this excitement. All these people pushing you, and they're right behind you. Flick that thing off in there, might have pushed, sent him wide.
Once you get the bike back on the grass, you have to get that tire cleaned up again. Meanwhile, to our leader, Miguel Duhamel, working slower traffic, going around number 177, Brett Boyd from Madison, Wisconsin.
Miguel Duhamel taking a page out of Scott Russell's exit of the International Horseshoe. Get the thing in there, get to your maximum lean angle, but don't accelerate at that point. These harder Daytona compound tires won't take that for very long. Stand the thing up, then pull the trigger and drive off. Don't run the thing out. Doing a nice job. Looks very relaxed, and keep in mind he's basically a one-legged rider. That left leg is still injured from the Loudon crash, and proving his toughness, and certainly becoming a hero to everyone who didn't already believe in him with his ride in the 600 and now leading the superbike race.
Matt Gladden continues to run in second place. If you're just joining us, we are working lap number 9 of 57 in the Daytona 200. Much anticipation was built around Scott Russell's bid for his unprecedented 6th victory in this race, hopefully the first for the Harley-Davidson VR1000. Pre-race testing was going very, very well, as did practice and qualifying here at Daytona, but Russell is not in the race after an incident off the racetrack. Our leader is Miguel Duhamel. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule in the pits.
Here with Don Zakakura, who is the vice president of Yoshimura Racing. Turns out Honda's not the only guy who went to that taller gear. You guys win as well. How critical is it to where Matt is riding right now?
We made some slight changes after this morning's warm-up, and seem to be working out pretty well at this point.
Let's talk about the pace that those two guys are setting out there right now. Too fast, just right?
I thought they would run around a low 2 pace, and that's right where they're at now. So I think they're both comfortable.
Your guys out there just took the lead. Because the question is, do you want them racing that hard right now?
Matt wants to get out front and try to break a little bit of distance from himself. Expecting he'll pick it up a little bit here in the next few laps.
All right, still a long way to go in this race.
Thank you, Rick DeBrule, and I'll tell you what happens. Every time they exit the horseshoe, right here, Mladen comes out of the horseshoe, gets the bike straightened up, and looks over to his left-hand side for his signal. Right there, you see those pit boards up. That signal is telling him +3, +4, +5, whatever it is. And certainly, Miguel Duhamel and Matt Mladen have been looking in their signals to see where the third-place rider is. If the third-place rider goes from a +4 to a +3, that's when they turn the pace up, and I'm willing to bet that's when they make a move, make the pass, and then lead for a while to stretch it out, get away from Oliver, get away from Pegram and Gobert.
More slow traffic up ahead. Matt Mladen, 153.036 on that last lap. His best lap, a 151.3. So traffic, I would guess, is what is slowing down our race leaders as they work the high banks. Nose to tail at 180 miles an hour plus.
Looking through our top 5, Matthew Mladen, Miguel Duhamel, on vastly different machines. Mladen's on a 4-cylinder inline Suzuki, fuel injected, while the V4 Honda, fuel injected as well, behind him. And then they're followed up by Oliver, another inline 4-cylinder, but with a 5-valve head. Yamaha uses 3 intake valves and 2 exhaust valves in their Genesis motors. And right behind that is 2 twins that can go to 1,000 cc's in this class. They're both running 996cc Ducatis, Pegram and Gobert. So it's an interesting mix. AMA has done a good job of keeping the rules open enough to keep everything fair and even.
Multi-valve heads are a must when you're moving as much air through the manifold as they do on these motorcycles, considering the revs that they turn. And the tires are interesting as well. Dual compound tires. Because the left turns are fast, the right turns are slow, they use 2 different compounds on the same tire. And mastering their use, particularly in a race like this one, can be a key to success in the Daytona 200. We'll take a break. Working lap number 11. We expect the pit stops to start around lap 19, and then you are going to see something very special. Stand by for more from Daytona.
The styling of the new Vulcan 1500 Drifter takes you back to another time. Engineering. Make sure you don't get stuck there. Vulcan, only from Kawasaki.
If you added up all the hours you've spent boring out cylinders, building strokers, and setting up suspension, you'd have graduated from MMI by now, and you'd be getting paid for doing what you love. Call 1-800-994-3664 to find out how you can become one of the best technicians in the world. Motorcycle Mechanics Institute.
The first nighttime running of the Pepsi 400 was a great success, and you can be part of this new tradition in 1999. There will be fireworks on and off the track Saturday night, July 3rd at Daytona International Speedway. First, the stars of NASCAR Winston Cup go head-to-head under the lights in the exciting Pepsi 400. Then you'll enjoy the most spectacular fireworks display in the South. Enjoy a night under the lights. Call 904-253-RACE for tickets.
Back at the Daytona 200, Harley-Davidson's situation has gone from bad to worse. Scott Russell did not start the race, and their other rider, Pascal Picat, has just crashed.
Picat, another terrible Daytona for him. Remember, last year, running 3rd place. Clutch bearing hung up. They ruined the pit stop. Now he's down and out. Probably made a riding mistake entering turn 1. Hard on the brakes. Lost the front end off in the grass.
This is for 3rd place. Rich Oliver on the 97 Yamaha, battling with Larry Pegram on the 72 Ducati.
Here comes Jamie Hacking behind them. We haven't seen Hacking up into that trio yet. So Hacking, number 92, pushing hard. That's Oliver's young, hungry teammate. Rich Oliver finally looks like he's fulfilling the predictions that many had for him. I can remember talking to Larry Griffiths, the head guru at Yamaha, saying, hey, put Oliver on a superbike. The guy's awesome. Who can forget him coming to Las Vegas and leading that race until he tossed it? So, Oliver back on pace, running third, fighting it out with Pegram. Down into turn 1, Oliver and Pegram together.
And he holds him off. You mentioned earlier all the 250 Grand Prix fans would be cheering for Rich Oliver. Why not? He has dominated that class in AMA competition, a 4-time champion in 250 GP, and once won 20 races in a row. Right now, he has got his hands full, however, with Pegram and his teammate. We have a pit stop. Anthony Gobert.
Gobert in, grabbing a drink of water. They're putting front and rear tires on. 6 gallons of fuel goes in. See Mitch Leonard back there with his hand up. He's got ready. Front wheels taking a little bit longer than it should. Gobert back on and gone.
Now this is very early with only 13 laps complete. A very early pit stop for Anthony Gobert. We expected that about 6 laps from now, and that will take them out of the pit stop sequence. And I would imagine they'll have to make a 3rd stop. Marty Reed in the pit lane.
Down here with Steve Scheibe. Boy, your day, it's gone from bad to worse, hasn't it?
Well, it's unfortunate for Pascal that he fell. I think we're in position to have a strong finish and improve, and certainly finish in the top 10, if not the top 5. And it's just too bad that this is the way it has ended this week.
Not at all what you planned, was it?
No, you can't plan for a lot of things in racing, and certainly not crashing and other things that have happened.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Harley-Davidson has won this race 16 times. A couple of years ago, thanks to their newest rider, Scott Russell, they were eclipsed as the winningest manufacturer in Daytona 200 history by Yamaha, who has now totaled 18 victories. The last 2 with Russell in the saddle. We'll have to wait to another year for America's legendary bike builder.
As we watch Duhamel trying to track down Milat, once again, we've got to talk about Harley's sponsor hookup with Ford. And Harley and Ford, of course, 2 good, fantastic American products that have great names in racing. Hooking up together, and the Ford sponsorship has helped Harley do some of the things that they couldn't do before. They've updated the Weber Morelli fuel injection system substantially. They've done a lot more preseason testing. They've got a continuing, ongoing effort to get that VR1000 better and better, and that takes money, and Ford is with them now.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see those Harley-Davidson VR1000s in Ford's wind tunnels as well. We have more pit action. Jamie Hacking has brought his Yamaha in. There is Hacking sitting on the 92 machine. Last year's Rookie of the Year in AMA Superbike. And he is not completely happy with what's going on there. Looks like more front wheel trouble.
Tom Houseworth struggling with that front wheel, got that in there. I know they were talking about chamfering the rotors so that it would slide through the calipers a lot easier. Keep in mind, folks, they are changing 2 front and rear, if they do it right, and 6 gallons of gas in 8 to 10 seconds. And you can see doing a lot worse now. Struggling with the rear wheel now. Hacking's hard riding effort is evaporating in a slow pit stop.
Hands in the air. What frustration for a rider. This is what Pascal Picot went through with Harley last year. A very long stop for Jamie Hacking as he heads back out.
Hacking's got to take a deep breath now and cool down, because it's easier to throw that thing right on the ground on those new tires. He's got to cool down, get back in the groove. Russell threw the thing down in the National Horseshoe one year and came back to win it. So Hacking's got to get his stuff together and put together some good laps.
To Rick DeBrule in the pits.
With Jim Leonard, who is the crew chief for Anthony Gobert. Let's talk about why Gobert came in so early.
We overheated the tire on the left side, so early first stop. I got to go recalculate right now.
Any warning he was coming in, or just show up on you?
None whatsoever. I just heard that he had dropped on the banking in the back, so we were scrambling.
Just took a guess. Jim Leonard, once again, now the concern is obviously what's the status of their second man, Ben Bostrom, but this is about 8 laps earlier than they planned on coming in.
Which means they'll have to make a 3rd stop in this race, almost certainly. Everyone else will be shooting for 2.
Can't ignore the tire war going on here at Daytona and going on in AMA Superbike. Michelin versus Dunlop. Gobert was on Dunlop's on that particular Ducati, sponsored by Vance and Hines, while Larry Pegram and his teammate Matt Wade are on Michelin. So Gobert overheated that tire, and that's easy to do. Spinning the tire a little too much, getting onto the banking, out of the chicane into turn 5. Tire chunks. He's got to come in and get a new one.
That can be critical in the Daytona 200. It is Mladen, Duhamel, Pegram, Oliver, and Bostrom. We'll be back to Daytona International Speedway in just a moment.
There's only one reason why we would bring Honda ATVs to a place like this. To see if they could get out. Because if Honda ATVs can handle this kind of mud, this kind of terrain, this kind of non-stop torture, they can handle almost anything you'll throw at them. They're America's most popular ATVs for America's least popular places. Honda ATVs. Best on Earth.
Lots of big pressure coming in from the west. That's going to bring in all that great big sunshine. That's your big forecast. Now, get out there and make it a big day.
It's easy to spot someone who rides a Yamaha Roadstar. With its huge 1600cc engine, it's more than the world's biggest V-twin cruiser.
It's the big stuff.
It's perfect for those little rides into town.
It's the big stuff.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, the Daytona 200 rolls on. Miguel Duhamel on his Honda, Matt Mladen on a Suzuki, and those two have opened up an 8-second gap over the third-place Yamaha of Rich Oliver. These guys are off into a race of their own.
Notice how well they were working together, not getting in each other's way. Miguel Duhamel gets, boy, he put that head down for that last half lap, then he gets stuffed in the chicane by some slower riders. But that is Daytona. You've got to learn to deal with them. You can call them moving chicanes, but they're going to be there, and you've got to learn to keep calm, get them where you can, don't push too hard.
Just a few moments ago, we saw Rich Oliver's teammate Jamie Hacking suffering through a long pit stop. Hacking is back out. He's in 14th place. Marty Reed has more on that stop.
Well, similar situation with Anthony Gobert. He chunked the tire, gave him the signal. They came in and talked to Tom Houseworth, the crew chief, about what happened on the rear. He says, well, this is going to be one of those Monday morning deals. Nobody seems to want to take the blame for why we screwed up the pit stop.
Well, keep in mind, these AMA Superbike teams do not make pit stops in any of their other races throughout the year. A lot of them have had their teams' equipment brought over from Japan, where they're used to making pit stops in the endurance races that are popular over there. This is not something that they're perhaps as adept as the NASCAR crew guys who do it week in and week out. Down to Rick DeBrule.
Talking about those pit stops, I can tell you Vance and Hines actually spent one whole day at Willow Springs doing nothing but pit stops. And a lot of the teams haven't really had a chance to practice. They come in, they do it 1 or 2 times during the week. They get to it to Saturday. Vance and Hines spent one entire day doing nothing but pit stops just so they could get it down right.
That's certainly the mark of Terry Vance coming out in there. Vance, a very well-prepared team owner. Of course, I think 15-time national drag racing champion, and probably not the kind of guy that arrives at the racetrack ready to work on the motorcycle. I think the bikes are ready to go when they get here, the mark of a truly good team. Watching these guys put together some good laps. Miguel Duhamel better have his head on straight. Remember, last year, this is where he fell down, trying to stretch out a lead, trying to leave Scott Russell behind to give his pit crew a little extra time, pushing extra hard right at this area right here. Lost the front end going into the chicane. So Miguel Duhamel probably learned quite a bit. These racers at the level that they are, certainly some of the best in the world, rarely make the same mistake twice.
Keep in mind, Miguel Duhamel, second-generation racer. His father, Ivan, is a legend in the sport. Duhamel has had but one brief test session on the motorcycle while that leg mends.
Nice shot of Ben Bostrom carrying that big #1 plate, and I talk about a big #1 plate, a heavy #1 plate, because it gets heavy. Everybody's shooting at you. You've got the target on your back. Bostrom won that #1 plate on the Honda RC45. He wasn't supposed to win the championship. He just was supposed to be learning under Miguel Duhamel, but when Miguel hurt himself at Loudon, Bostrom picked up the mantle and carried it to the #1 plate.
This is 4th position. Ben Bostrom is 5th. Larry Pegram 4th as they go down into 1. And that #1 plate gets extra heavy when you win it, as Ben Bostrom did last year, without winning a single AMA national event. That is one goose egg on his resume that Ben Bostrom would like to take care of in short order. And no place better to do it than right here at Daytona.
It's interesting how people look at that as we watch the Fast by Ferracci Ducati versus the Vance and Hines Ducati. Two factory-backed, factory-supported teams. You saw Larry Pegram, left arm off the handlebar, pointing at his rear tire, saying, I'm coming in, I've got a tire problem, I'm coming in, it's lap 17, so he's within the window of pitting, but he definitely took his hand off and said, I got a tire problem, get ready.
And Bostrom knows all about tire problems. He had a Dunlop let go in the December test, and that left him rolling down the racetrack at about 165 miles an hour. Remarkably, the only injury was severe abrading to his left hand when his glove came off. That because he had a wrap underneath the glove, and he wasn't able to fasten it as tightly as he otherwise would have. We're going to take a break. Pit stops are coming here at Daytona. Stay right there.
Today's business environment is fast-paced, ever-changing, and very competitive. It's exciting working for Comcast. My daily routine is driving out to Plainfield or Brownsburg or wherever it might be on the west side in Hendricks County and explain to people how I can help them increase their sales by advertising on Comcast cable television. It's my job to be out in the community informing local businesses that with cable TV you can get more bang for your buck. It's real easy to get a hold of me. Just give me a call. Mooresville and Plainfield, call 839-0802.
Sam Satellite City, return desk.
We want to return this satellite dish we bought from you guys.
How come?
We can't get all the same channels we used to get with Comcast. We don't even get local channels anymore.
Really?
And you didn't tell me I need a separate receiver for each television.
I didn't.
With Comcast, additional outlets were easy.
We are not the cable company.
No kidding. That's why we need to return the dish.
Well, you'll just have to take a number and get in line.
If you're thinking about satellite TV, you might want to think twice. Comcast, everything you connect with.
This is ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
Daytona Bike Week is brought to you by Suzuki. During Suzuki Fest 99, get $400 worth of free accessories and great financing on selected models. Back at Daytona International Speedway, we begin the pit stops and watch the crews go to work. Here's Rick DeBrule.
Larry Pegram brings it in, the rider's job to basically get out of the way. I got to tell you, Ferracci has a little bit of a problem. They're using narrow wheels and they want the tires don't have as much pads when they get back out there. That might be part of his problem.
Let me correct you there a little bit, Rick. That was Matthew Waite, Larry Pegram's teammate on the 23. Fast by Ferracci Ducati, and you can tell that distinctive engine note, which tells you immediately it is a twin as you look at Matt Mladen, who's taken over the lead from Miguel Duhamel. Up high on the banking, he'll have a pit stop coming up shortly. In fact, he's down low on the exit, so will Mladen come in now? Yes, he will. Meanwhile,
get a good shot here of Matt Mladen. No pit lane speed here at AMA Superbike. This is the last of the unlimited pit stops going on here in the Daytona 200. Coming down there probably over 120 miles an hour. Hard on the brakes, bring the bike to a stop in neutral so the crew can jump on it, change front and rear wheels. He's getting the drink, throws the drink bottle out, gets his helmet, face shield back down. Very nice stop for the Oshimura crew, and Mladen is off in very nice time. Good job.
And they took the absolute last pit box down there so that they would only have to slow down once and not reaccelerate without being back on the racetrack. Smart strategic move. Action in the Muzzy Kawasaki pits. Down to Marty Reed.
Aaron Yates has stopped the very same time Larry Pegram has come to a stop. Boy, Yates' crew is out of there. Pegram was in first, and Yates was literally out of here in just under 7.5 seconds by my clock, guys.
That's the kind of thing that will get it done for you here at Daytona.
Unbelievable when you think about it. These guys are out here working their hearts out for 53s and 152s. They're gaining every half second they can get, and then their pit crew picks them up 3 or 4 seconds on their competition. It's very nice.
As our pit stops continue, here comes Miguel Duhamel, the leader, and he has yet to pull in for his first pit stop. He's getting tremendous mileage on that Honda RC45.
Miguel Duhamel lapping Michael Barnes, and Michael Barnes is on the Dutchman Racing Yamaha. That's an old factory motorcycle that Dave Schlosser, the Dutchman crew chief, picked up from Yamaha when they turned over these new bikes. And Michael Barnes is going to school on Miguel Duhamel. Michael Barnes is the quickest privateer in qualifying and is doing a great job. Number 34 on that Yamaha.
Let's get back down to the pit lane.
Just want to mention the fact Duhamel was originally supposed to come in at lap 19. That was the original plan before the race, but they're comfortable enough with the way the tire is running, the way Duhamel is running. They decided to stretch it out just a little bit more to actually allow him to go to 20 laps. The whole idea being that'll give him a little bit longer in the race. They can do that at the next pit stop, and their tire will be just a little bit fresher at the end of this race. So they're now getting ready for the stop.
See work on Jason Pridmore's machine. Like Miguel Duhamel, Pridmore, a second-generation racer. His father, Reg Pridmore, legend in the game. As Miguel Duhamel takes the Honda back up onto the banking. His last lap, a 153.471 working traffic. So Miguel Duhamel, despite that bad left leg, is in tremendous shape in the race, working his 21st lap on the same set of tires and load of fuel. Rich Oliver up into second place. Ben Bostrom up into third. Matt Mladen is back on the track in fourth place after a great stop. Steve Crevier is fifth. Steve Rapp sixth, followed by Jason Pridmore, Doug Chandler, Aaron Yates, and Larry Pegram, the top 10.
Nice shot of Miguel sliding and weaving up the banking out of the chicane. You put 20 laps on a Daytona tire, you don't have a whole lot left. There's not a lot of what they call side grip on those tires at this point. As Miguel now ducking down in. Pressure is on. Al Ludington and Ray Plum. They've got to have a quick stop to get Miguel back up in it.
Let's get down to the American Honda pits. Rick DeBrule is there.
All right, literally the entire team standing out here. You can allow as many guys over the wall as you want. In this case, they got 13, 14 guys out here. Duhamel brings it to a stop. Remember, they've changed the bike this year. They have a double swing arm in the back. The big question was that going to delay the tire change? Well, in this case, no way. A very fast change, and he is out the door. And these guys...
Yow, 8.5 seconds. That's about the quickest you can get. Ray Plum, Joey Lombardo laughing and talking about it. These guys are living life. This is what they trained for, coming to Daytona, leading and then knocking out an 8.5-second pit stop. This is what they're paid the big bucks for.
High fives all around with a quick look over his shoulder. No mirrors on these bikes. Miguel Duhamel is back out. Now Doug Chandler, a three-time AMA Superbike champion, but never a Daytona 200 winner, is there. Marty Reed.
Boy, and he wants this championship so badly, guys. It's just a little slower stop. He's back out. It's a 0.9 seconds for Doug Chandler.
Pretty nice stop right there. Now, Miguel Duhamel came out right in front of Matthew Mladen, and that's where he remained. They're coming off of these. They've got the hot tires from the warmer, so it's ready to go at 100% as soon as it comes off the stands.
So we're on our way once again. Another pit stop for those making two, which should be most of the field, but that's a bunch of laps down the road. We'll be back as the Daytona 200 rolls on.
Suzuki Best 99, folks. Step right up. Pick a selected Suzuki Cruiser and pick out $400 in free accessories. How about you, sir? A Suzuki Intruder 800 and maybe a jacket? Or how about a Marauder 800 and helmet? It's up to you. There's lots to choose from. And choose from financing offers like 0 down, low monthly payments, or low APR. But hurry in. Suzuki Best 99 and soon. Hey, I don't make the rules. Suzuki Best 99, folks.
At work, they call me Pete. On my Suzuki Intruder 1400, they call me Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf on the Savage 650. Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf.
It's Ms. Lone Wolf to you, mister. And quit staring at my Marauder 800.
There are so many Suzuki Cruisers to choose from. Everybody can be Lone Wolf.
Sports Century's Top 50 Athletes, a year-long celebration. Number 44, Bobby Jones, Friday at 10:30 on ESPN, presented by General Motors.
Back at Daytona, here comes the pit stop for our pole sitter. Let's get down to Marty Reed.
And the clock is running. Anthony Gobert, he will have to make a third stop. Looking at the tire, it looks like it has taken another beating. He is getting it out underway. No, they've got a problem with the front tire, and he's underway in just under 15 seconds.
Blast from that Ducati V-twin sends him back on his way. And here come the leaders through. They could put Gobert a lap down here.
They are. There he was on pit road. Miguel Duhamel and Matt Mladen are going to sneak past Gobert. Let's see how it pans out here. Yep, Gobert is just coming out onto the hot racetrack. Miguel Duhamel leading down into that international horseshoe, but Mladen has got his teeth sucked into the back of Miguel's tail section, and just by force of will not let that motorcycle go. The Honda's proven to be the fastest bike here, and Mladen is working extra hard to keep it in sight.
Gobert had problems last year in the Daytona 200, finished 8th. He's not having a good race right now as we work lap number 34 of 57. Duhamel, Mladen, Oliver, Bostrom, Yates, Steve Rapp 6th, and Jason Pridmore, Larry Pegram, Doug Chandler now in 9th place after that Gobert pit stop.
Anthony Gobert got a lot of praise from the usually harsh critics because of his Daytona performance. Last year, he had an overheating motorcycle, and he just made the best of it, finished 8th spot. And he had a motorcycle that couldn't possibly win or even get on the podium, and a lot of riders would have thrown a tantrum and given up, but he circled around and got 8th spot. And speaks well for a young man.
Tires appear to be the story for several of the riders in the field. Rick DeBrule has more on the rubber down in the pit lane.
Well, obviously, when Gobert came in very early with that tire that was having a problem, there was concern up and down pit lane. Dunlop guy went up and down and said, you know what? After looking at everybody's tires, Gobert's the only one with the problem. In other words, he's working his tires too hard. He said after looking at everybody else's tires, everything seems to be working the way they were planned and scheduled here at the Daytona.
Thanks, Rick. And that's a sign of getting a bad start. Gobert did not get the start that he needed. He wasn't running up with the top group. He was trying to make up time. And when that happens, oftentimes you get caught with riders that aren't running the cornering speed that you are, so you have to try to outdrive them off the corner. Anytime you're trying to drive hard off the corner, tire temperatures are going to rise. You do that too much on a Daytona compound tire, Michelin or Dunlop or Bridgestone or Metzler, that tire will end up chunking. You've got to be smooth off that corner, and you'll see Miguel Duhamel and Matt Mladen letting the tire slide just a little bit, but not anything more than a couple of degrees of slip.
Matt Mladen underneath, taking the lead from Miguel Duhamel with 34 laps in the books now. These two continue to be the soul of the race up front. What a battle. Two men from such different backgrounds. Matt Mladen, a motocrosser from Australia, and Miguel Duhamel, raised in a racing family in Quebec, Canada. Very, very evenly matched racers.
Really can't talk about two differently sized racers either. These guys, Mladen stands 6 foot, 6'1", weighs in probably about 180. Very thin for his size, but certainly a big man. You can see he's built like a linebacker. And Miguel Duhamel, a little bit more like the prototypical road racer, about 5'5", 140 pounds, all muscle. Tucks in behind that RC45 windscreen a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, and that certainly, oh man, as they go by a lap, we're catching our breath up here in the booth, but certainly it means mile an hour, and if you've got a half a mile an hour, 3/4 of a mile an hour on your nearest competition over the space of 2 hours, you can see how that adds up.
I remember watching Freddie Spencer and King Kenny Roberts sandwiching slower traffic like that at 180 miles an hour on the high banks here at Daytona International Speedway. Amazing stuff to watch. And you see right there, Duhamel moving his butt around on the seat a little bit. You do not just sit down and twist the throttle on these things. You are all over the bike, on the pegs, shifting your weight, dragging your knee. It is 2 hours of constant effort for these athletes and an amazing exercise.
One thing I've noticed with Miguel Duhamel's riding, normally a very fluid weight changes, but I've noticed especially up into turn 5, you'll see him pick his body up and almost plop it back down in the seat. I think he's just making one burst of energy with his legs to move his butt over to the inside of the corner, and that's all he can do. While as in years past, when he had two good legs, he would kind of ooze himself over, moving that weight around very slowly and smoothly. Now he's a little bit more of a one-time grunt and set himself.
Miguel Duhamel has 2 victories in the Daytona 200. Matt Mladen has none. Will that change at the end of the day? We're close to finding out. 35 laps now in the book. We'll be back with more from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Superbike championships than any other sport bike in history. Is it any wonder so many worship the ground it rides on? The styling of the new Vulcan 1500 Drifter takes you back to another time. Engineering. Make sure you don't get stuck there. Vulcan, only from Kawasaki.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, Jamie Hacking has just pulled in for his second pit stop. Notice the fueler, if you're a Supercross fan, that's Brian Berry. That's John Dowd's mechanic. You talk about the fact that this is the only race of the year that these guys do pit stops. There's the reason why. Now, they are having problems again towards the back of this bike. trying to figure out what is wrong with this assembly area for the tire change. And they've got the tools out, and this is going to be an extended stop. So Jamie Hacking puts his hands on his forehead and says, man, this day's just gone from bad to worse, guys.
Boy, you can see it in his body language.
Tom Houseworth leaning over him, telling him, take it easy. It's the first race of the season. We've got to build some points here. Go away here as clean as you can. Keeping that young rider's mind focused, and Hacking has made a name for himself with his aggressive, super aggressive style. And Houseworth is just trying to calm him down. But this is taking way too much time. You can see the Yamaha crew still working on something wrong at the back of this bike.
All of that hard work on the racetrack for Hacking. It all goes up in smoke here. He's got an interesting story. To listen to him speak, you'd swear he was born and raised in South Carolina. Well, you'd be half right. He was raised there, but he was born in England in the same neighborhood as another superbike rider of note, multi-time world superbike champion Carl Fogarty. Right now, back on the race lead, Miguel Duhamel and Matt Mladen circulate just a bike length or two apart on the high banks. Still circulating at 1 minute 51.4, 0.5, 0.6 seconds. Like a clock each time by. The two fastest men on the racetrack. They are now almost 40 seconds up on the third place Yamaha of Rich Oliver.
Matt Mladen drafting by to the start-finish, maybe figuring something out here if it comes down to it. What have I got? That time he drafted by, did come across the start-finish line first. You're trying to line things up. If I'm 20 feet behind him at the chicane exit, how's that going to take me? Will I get by him too early and he'll be able to redraft? Will I have time to catch him? And these guys are veterans. They've been, both of them have been to 500 Grand Prix for one season. They've both run at the top of National Superbike Series, and they're trying to figure exactly, if it comes right down to it, we're still in this position, what can I and what can I not do?
Now we've got traffic to work. Mladen makes quick work of it. Ooh, Duhamel might get caught behind a slower bike as they head for the second infield horseshoe, but he gets through.
You hear a lot of the slower riders talk about if they had their equipment, but that was a perfect example of what Miguel Duhamel, as a Superbike champion, one of the fastest guys to do, he'd simply outbrake that slower rider. I mean, it's rider ability. In cars, oftentimes we talk about having the right engineer. You've got the right engineer and the right setup, and you can do pretty well. If you don't, you go to the back of the bus. But in motorcycle racing, you're your own engineer. I mean, if your front end is pushing, you move your weight forward. If you're sliding the back too much, you try to stand the bike up off the side of the tire. You become your own race engineer as you're on the bike.
Battle continues between the number 17 Honda and the number 66 Suzuki. This is working lap number 38 now. So we should get another rush of pit stops from the leaders. Keep in mind, last time Miguel Duhamel went a couple extra laps. I believe he went to lap 22 before pitting. Chin tucked right down there on the fuel tank. Many of these racers who are bigger than Miguel Duhamel have indentations on the fuel tank in order to get right down behind the fairing. Mladen is one of those. He is now in. He's headed for the Suzuki pits.
Hard to keep the camera up with Matt Mladen as he accelerated down the pits. Unbelievable. That was a Scott Russell-esque entrance.
Down to Rick DeBrule.
Indeed, Matt Mladen is in. They're going to work on it. They want this to be nice and clean. They don't want to make any mistakes. They're concerned most about the front wheel. They say that's the trickiest one to get in, but in this case, no problems at all. They get him in, fueled, he is out.
Beat change. You saw that big sign waved in front of Matt Mladen. It said, pump the brakes, because as you pull that front tire out of there, those calipers pads can come apart a little bit, and it would take one extra pump to grab them. And of course, you run down into the international horseshoe, go to the front brake. No front brakes. It's a pump away from being good. There's the race right there. So Yoshimura maybe has learned a little something over the 28 years they've been doing this.
Let's get back down to the pits and Marty Reed now.
Rich Oliver brings it to a stop, and this will be a test to see if these guys can get this one a little smoother. We should tell you, Jamie Hacking has taken off the helmet. The bike's been pushed off behind the wall. It looks like his day is done. So far, up to 12 seconds, and he's out of here.
Barely enough time. He almost ran over the guy cleaning the fairing.
Good job, Rich Oliver. Of course, a 250 guy doesn't do pit stops, but Oliver doing a nice job there.
We'll take a break. Matt Mladen running well. He and Miguel Duhamel, it appears, will decide the 58th running of the Daytona 200, but we've got a ways to go. Less than 20 laps remaining here at Daytona. Stay with us.
big V-twin makes your blood race. You grew up on the pegs of a dirt bike. You could smell a carb running rich from a mile away. Call 1-800-994-3664 to find out how you can become one of the best technicians in the world. Motorcycle Mechanics Institute.
Superbike championships than any other sport bike in history. Is it any wonder so many worship the ground it rides on?
Daytona Bike Week is brought to you by Suzuki. During Suzuki Fest 99, get $400 worth of free accessories and great financing on selected models. Back at Daytona, the race leader is Miguel Duhamel. Matt Mladen, who was running a close second, has made his pit stop. The Yoshimura Suzuki crowd got him in and out in great shape. And that kick of the right leg off the peg tells you this is Miguel Duhamel bringing his Honda RC45 down the pit lane at about 150 miles an hour or so. He'll rely on the brakes as he brings it to a stop.
Talk about pressure. Come down to the pit crew now. Miguel Duhamel has proven on the racetrack that he can run well enough to win this race. Matt Mladen came in, had a great stop with the Yoke crew. Miguel, fantastic stop. Ray Plum pushes him off, and Miguel Duhamel, one of the quickest stops we've seen at this 200. That could have won the race right there.
Good stop for Duhamel. Now he's got somebody ahead of him as he leaves the pits. He's going to be careful anyway, but this not maybe as slow as he wants to go. It's not. He makes the pass and will head back out. And you see him that leaning the bike back and forth. Even if he didn't have S-turns to use to get back on the racetrack, you would see Miguel Duhamel doing that as he tries to get some heat into the two different compounds that make up each side of that rear tire.
You know what Miguel's looking for? Matt Mladen's number 66 number plate. Now, where is Mladen? That's what we're going to figure out now. Is he ahead of Miguel, or is he still up behind? That fantastic stop we saw, Miguel Duhamel probably up ahead of Mladen.
Doug Chandler is in the pits. Marty Reed is there.
And he brings the Kawasaki to a stop in 6th place when he entered this pit lane. We'll find out how good the Muzzy crew is again. Aaron Yates has already made his last stop, so he is already gone with his second set of service. It's under 12 seconds, 11.7.
Doug Chandler back out on the racetrack, the three-time champion who has never won this race. He was a contract holdout earlier this year. He did not want to ride the super sport classes that many of the top superbike riders do to get some extra seat time on whichever racetrack they happen to be racing on. Doug Chandler did not want to do that. He now has a Muzzy Kawasaki superbike only deal in the second and final year of his contract.
Exactly what every fan was hoping for, Jimmy Bob. A race down to the end here. We've got Mladen has just creeped up on the tail section of Miguel Duhamel over the last 3 laps. Mladen showing him a little something on the outside of turn 1. Lets Miguel have it, but Miguel knows from his pit board, probably from the sound of that Suzuki, that he's got a race going on.
At the end of the day, whoever goes to the top step of the podium, they both ought to go to victory lane arm in arm, because that's the way they've run this race thus far. We'll take a break and return for more of the Daytona 200. Don't go away.
Sam Satellite City, return desk.
We want to return this satellite dish we bought from you guys.
How come?
We can't get all the same channels we used to get with Comcast. We don't even get local channels anymore.
Really?
And you didn't tell me I need a separate receiver for each television.
I didn't.
With Comcast, additional outlets were easy.
We're not the cable company.
No kidding. That's why we need to return the dish.
Well, you'll just have to take a number and get in line.
If you're thinking about satellite TV, you might want to think twice. Comcast, everything you connect with.
Today's business environment is fast-paced, ever-changing, and very competitive. It's exciting working for Comcast. My daily routine is driving out to Plainfield or Brownsburg or wherever it might be on the west side in Hendricks County and explain to people how I can help them increase their sales by advertising on Comcast cable television. It's my job to be out in the community informing local businesses that with cable TV you can get more bang for your buck. It's real easy to get a hold of me. Just give me a call. Mooresville and Plainfield, call 839-0802.
The first nighttime running of the Pepsi 400 was a great success, and you can be part of this new tradition in 1999. There will be fireworks on and off the track Saturday night, July 3rd at Daytona International Speedway. First, the stars of NASCAR Winston Cup go head-to-head under the lights in the exciting Pepsi 400. Then you'll enjoy the most spectacular fireworks display in the South. Enjoy a night under the lights. Call 904-253-RACE for tickets.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, the lead has changed once again as Matt Mladen on the number 66 Yoshimura Suzuki is out in front, but by just a bike length or so ahead of the Honda RC45 of two-time Daytona 200 winner Miguel Duhamel. This has been a great battle between these two for the last 47 laps.
Lapping up into ninth spot, that was Larry Pegram. They went by. Pegram, of course, one of the early front runners, got slowed down with some pit stops and didn't quite pull off as cleanly, and now being lapped. It doesn't take much at this level. A couple little mistakes here, a botched stop there, and the seconds add up, and you find yourself going down a lap.
Both riders made two pit stops. Both of them got brilliant stops from their teams, and now it is up to them to decide it between them.
Really no dispute in the paddock area that the Honda's the fastest motorcycle. Let's take a look here now as they approach the chicane. Miguel Duhamel has picked up the draft. He holds it right there. That's enough for him. He's going to follow Mladen in there, let Mladen get in there in the brakes, give him some room. Miguel now sees that back marker up ahead of Mladen, knows Mladen's going to get balked. Mladen gets by. Miguel tries to sneaks by, stands up the back marker, but gets by. Let's see now how it all works out. Miguel sniffing for that draft. How will it work out at the start-finish line?
That was Chad Simmons, number 145, from right down the road from Daytona in Port Orange, Florida. Well, he just had an experience to be able to tell the boys about after the race.
Simmons, one of the many riders here, running a GSX-R 750 Super Sport bike on slicks and make it a super bike. They're not going to win the race, but they're just getting out, getting some points, and they're getting some money.
Now let's call up our Honda stopwatch and check lap times. And these guys have been turning the fastest laps of the race. Mladen, currently running out front there, has set and reset fast lap. I wouldn't be surprised if he has the top 3 or 4 laps. Currently, his quickest is 1 minute 50.456 seconds. Fastest for Duhamel, 151.056.
Mladen pushing harder than we've seen him push, getting it out of shape between turn 1 and that international horseshoe over those rough cement changes, pushing harder than he's pushed all race long. Sakakura talked about Mladen trying to get his head down and get some gap on it. Let's see if Miguel Duhamel can match the pace.
This is where Matt Mladen is at his best. He works the infield as well as or better than anybody else out there. He might say that he has to because he's down on horsepower by a couple to the man coming up behind him on the red number 17 Honda, Miguel Duhamel. Now as they work their way back up onto the NASCAR oval, let's see if the Honda reels in the Suzuki.
Last year we heard a lot of complaints about the Suzuki power. People talking about, it gets up to speed pretty well, but doesn't quite have the top end of the rest of the motorcycles. And that's what Yoshimura crew and the factory Suzuki crew have worked on, getting that bike to come off the corner and then run up on top with the rest of these guys. Miguel Duhamel reels him in somewhat into the chicane. Now they both get through the chicane cleanly this time. Miguel Duhamel keeps sizing things up. This Yoshimura Suzuki spins to some 15,000 RPM and putting out right around 180 horsepower. No one will quite tell you, but boy, out of the 3/4 of a liter motorcycle engine, if you're a car guy and you're looking at 3/4 of a liter making 180 horsepower, you really got a hard-running bike.
Just think of the power-to-weight ratio of these machines, probably on the order of the space shuttle or something.
Miguel Duhamel slingshots by, crosses that yellow start-finish line first. Down to about 8 laps to go. 8 laps to go, and Miguel Duhamel just experimenting with things. They're not under any pressure from third spot now. It's theirs to win or lose, and each one of them giving something away. Who knows?
There's the third place machine of Rich Oliver, the 97 Yamaha, 97 number that is. It's a 98 machinery, updated as much as possible as they await the arrival of Yamaha's all-new Superbike. He's got Ben Bostrom just behind him there. on the Vance & Hines Ducati bearing the #1 plate of the series champion. That is for position. Oliver has it. Bostrom wants it.
Ben Bostrom in 4th place, but Bostrom has a huge plus in his pocket, and that is a guy named Gary Medley. And Gary Medley made his name at Muzzy Kawasaki. He's the guy behind the 4 Daytona 200 wins, one with John Ashby, the rest with the Muzzy Kawasaki. He's won the Suzuki 8-hour with Muzzy. They won the 93 World Superbike World Championship, 96 and 97, #1 AMA plates. And now Gary Medley is Ben Bostrom's crew chief and tuner. They both talk about the learning curve. Medley's learning the motorcycle. Bostrom coming off the Honda, he's learning the motorcycle as well. And look at this learning curve. I mean, it's just started together, and it's already 4th place at Daytona, one of the toughest racetracks. Bostrom and Medley could become a epic combination of tuner and rider.
Now keep in mind, these are 2 of the quickest guys you'll find anywhere. That man, Rich Oliver, sat on pole for one of the super sport races here at Daytona. Ben Bostrom, as I mentioned, the reigning series champion. These guys are duking it out, and they are running about a full minute behind the race-leading duo of Duhamel and Mladen. That is how fast our race leaders are going. We're going to take a break, but as we go, we're going to pose you a trivia question. It's our Kawasaki trivia question. Who is the only rider to win this Daytona 200 on both a 2-stroke and 4-stroke motorcycle? We'll have the answer when we return.
Lots of big pressure coming in from the west. That's going to bring in all that great big sunshine. That's your big forecast. Now, get out there and make it a big day.
It's easy to spot someone who rides a Yamaha Roadstar. With its huge 1600cc engine, it's more than the world's biggest V-twin cruiser.
It's the big stuff.
It's perfect for those little rides into town.
The big stuff.
It possesses a passion inspired by the world's fastest Falcon. And a history that could only come from Suzuki. Introducing the incredible GSX 1300R Hayabusa, the largest displacement sport bike Suzuki has ever built. It's proof you don't need wings to fly.
Back at Daytona, here's the answer to our Kawasaki trivia question. Who's the only rider to win the Daytona 200 on both a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke machine? Eddie Lawson in '86 on the Yamaha TZ750, in 1993 on the FZ750 machinery.
Matt Mladen getting a good run that time. So closer than he's been on a long time, and this is what you want right now. Sitting on there, seeing what happens, see how it plays out. He is chasing around the winningest rider in AMA Superbike history. 21 wins under Miguel Duhamel's belt, and that is just an incredible record. It's an incredible record to get 21 club racing victories, much less at the top level of AMA national competition.
We saw Miguel Duhamel sliding the wheel there slightly. You'll see Mladen do it as well. Let's get down to the pit lane.
Well, talking with Ray Plum, you were saying that Miguel Duhamel almost always complains about grip, except this week.
Yeah, this week the tires are really working good right from the get-go. So we've just concentrated on chassis setup and let him go for it.
It's always a good sign when your driver isn't whining about something, right?
Yeah, that is a good sign. He's nice and relaxed. In fact, he's riding relaxed right now.
All right, let's send down to Marty.
Went to Don Sakakura, said, what do you do about strategy here? He says, heck, the strategy's out the window. It's up to the rider right now. Sakakura is glued to our monitor. He wants to watch this race. He doesn't want to talk about it, guys.
The 58th running of the Daytona 200 has come down to these 2 men. Miguel Duhamel on the Honda, Matt Mladen on the Suzuki. White flag waves one more time around this 3.56-mile combined road course and NASCAR oval for these 2 men who have battled wheel to wheel and bar to bar for nearly 200 miles.
Miguel painting a big black mark out of turn 1 with that rear Dunlop. And make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, Miguel Duhamel should not be here. He crashed so hard at Loudon, ruined his upper leg and knee. Many thought he was going to lose the leg. He was done racing for sure, and here he is, 600 Super Sport winner and fighting for the lead in Superbike. This man should not be on this motorcycle.
He could not cover himself with more glory than he already has here at Daytona Bike Week. He would be the first to tell you this is the race he prizes above all others. And Mladen would say the same. The Daytona 200 is the one you want to win. Duhamel with a look back at his rival.
He knows it's coming down to it. Now, in the past, we've seen people try to park it going in the chicane, let someone else lead through that chicane, and then draft him at the finish. But Miguel Duhamel, he has won from the front. He has won leading into the chicane. You can see him work really hard to get out of turn 5, get out on the bank with as much distance as you can, and then just let that RC45 V4 make you a winner.
He'll need every horsepower he can get from the machine. As Mladen closes up, he's going to have to use the brakes harder to stay close.
Miguel Duhamel tried to park it. Oh, Mladen, hard on the curbing in the chicane. Got to get his head back together. Cool out, calm down, get smooth, driving out behind Miguel. Let's see now what Miguel has in store for Matt Mladen.
The infield is done for the final time. The chicane is behind them. It is pin the throttle, tuck your chin down on the tank, and pick your line as they come through NASCAR 3 and 4 and head for the tri-oval area. 17 is Duhamel, 66 is Mladen. The crowd is on its feet. He's going to try the high side as Mladen, but he will not get it done as Miguel Duhamel picks up his second victory of Daytona Bike Week, his third win in the Daytona 200. And the battle for third will be between Ben Bostrom and Rich Oliver.
This is not over yet. Bostrom on the big Ducati, 996 cc's. Oliver, YZF 750, that's a 5-valve 750cc motorcycle. And keep in mind, Oliver on a Yamaha, knowing what Yamaha can do here at Daytona. Tough to beat. He closes up on the brakes. Did a great job on the brakes getting into the chicane. Bostrom's going to get blocked there by Eric Moe. Bostrom sneaks by. Oliver's going to get now blocked by Eric Moe, number 57. But Oliver's still looking for the drive out of chicane. What's Oliver got? Up against the wall. Now he's going to try to draw a beat on that big old Ducati.
That's where you always go if you're quicker. You go up high unless you have nowhere down below to go. That's the preferred line. Rear wheel bouncing through the area where Ben Bostrom had that savage crash in testing. But he is on his way to the checkered flag. Here comes Rich Oliver, going to make a run for it. Will Bostrom hold him off? I don't know.
I'm with you, Bob. I do not know. Oliver got blocked in the chicane by Eric Moe. He couldn't get out of it the way he wanted to, but he still yet put that Yamaha to work. That's a Houseworth motor. Say no more. Caught him up and tie across the line.
It goes up on the electronic timing and scoring as Rich Oliver in third, beating Ben Bostrom by 2 1/1000ths of a second. An amazing finish. The battle for third, the final spot on the podium behind Miguel Duhamel and Matt Mladen. We'll take a break and hear from our winner when we return to Daytona International Speedway. This is going to be a celebration in Victory Lane.
It's the most powerful custom on the planet. 6 cylinders. 6 carbs. 1,520 cc's. Only one motorcycle in the world can cruise like this. The Valkyrie from Honda. During custom finance days, get 5.9 APR on new Valkyries.
Daytona Bike Week is brought to you by Honda Motorcycles. Cruise in and get great financing on Honda Customs. By Kawasaki. Call 1-800-661-RIDE for the dealer nearest you. By Moto World Network. Ride the web 24 hours a day at www.motoworld.net. And by Yamaha, makers of the revolutionary YZF R6 Sport Bike and the new 1600cc Roadstar Cruiser. Well, when you've been to an event where first and second place are separated by 14 1/1000ths of a second and third and fourth separated by just 2 1/1000ths of a second, After 2 hours of racing at speeds over 180 miles an hour, you have seen some serious racing. The battle all day long was between the 17 Honda of Miguel Duhamel and the 66 Suzuki of Matt Mladen. Let's get down to victory lane now. Marty Reed is standing by with our winner.
Down here with a very, very happy Miguel Duhamel. We talked after the 600. I didn't think you could do this. I got to be honest. I thought the fatigue factor, what an incredible run.
Well, you know, I got to give credit, a lot of credit where credit is due. My team, Al Ludington, Joey Lombardo, and Ray Plum. And we had the help of Merlin Plumley and Davy Jones and Hans, my pit boy man, Brian Sheila, Gary Matters, Ray Blank, all the people from Honda. I wish I could remember all their name, but you know who you are. Honda, I mean, what can I say?
Track temperature dropped 17 degrees from the start of the race, and the wind picked up to like 25 mile an hour. What kind of gusts were you feeling out there?
Well, you know, the bike, you could feel it a bit, but we sort of anticipated that, and we geared it for, again, for a draft and pass move at the end, and that's what it came down to. But, you know, I was so confident in my Honda power that I just decided to take the lead and stay in front and not worry too much about the draft and pass, because I think Matt would have to pull off a pretty big coup to pass that Honda RC45.
Miguel, thanks for taking us along for a great ride.
Thank you.
Congratulations indeed to Miguel Duhamel. Now, the Daytona 200, as we've been saying all day, is the biggest race of the year for these guys, but it is only the first round in the AMA Superbike Series. They'll be on to Phoenix, Arizona in 2 weeks' time, and Miguel Duhamel will go there as the leader in the Superbike category. He will also lead the 600 Supersport class after winning that race here on a phenomenal week at Bike Week at Daytona. Matt Mladen second in points, followed by Rich Oliver, Ben Bostrom, and Steve Rapp. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of Bike Week at Daytona, and in particular today's 58th running of the Daytona 200. History is made. Third victory in the Daytona 200 for Miguel Duhamel, one of the best there has ever been. I'm Bob Varsha for Nick Einosh, Marty Reed, and Rick DeBrule. Thanks for being with us. So long from Daytona Beach, Florida. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of Go Network, go.com. So long, everyone.